Merry meet and welcome to Psalmic Saturday here at Ariel's Corner. This is Ariel Gatoga, and we are streaming live on YouTube and on Twitch. Thank you so much for being here today. Moderating today on YouTube are the lovely Honeypaw and the lovely Deline, and moderating on Twitch is the lovely Dre. Thank you so much, moderators. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. We have a premiere at 11 a.m. Pacific time, just over 20 minutes from now. I hope you can join us there. I have put a link to the premiere in case you have a hard time finding it. And all you have to do is hang out to the end of the exit music, and the link should be there so that if you have trouble finding it, you can find it that way. Otherwise, it should just be on our main YouTube channel, Ariel Gatoga. We have chat threads open on both of the streams. If you have any questions for me, you can put them in the chat thread, and I will do my best to answer them before the end of the stream, provided we're not going over. We have a lecture tomorrow, and then we're off for 2 days, and we'll be back on Wednesday to start our week again. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, unless you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, in which case I hope you had a great whatever day you had. All right, let's get going because this psalm is not super short, and I don't want to get caught. Today we are working Psalm 83. In traditional psalm magic, Psalm 83 is frequently used to overcome others who have done harm and for safety in times of war. I would like to use Psalm 83 to return any ill will sent to you. So it's a sort of a, in martial arts, they don't attack. The trick is not to attack somebody, but to allow somebody to use their own energy against themselves in order to protect yourself. So they actually end up hurting themselves, and you step out of the way, basically. And that's what this spell is based. That's what this spell is going to do. It's going to allow us to step out of the way of any negative energy being sent to us and allow it to rebound on the sender. Hopefully that they will learn their lesson, but that's none of our business ultimately, is it? The way we work psalm magic is very simple, easy, and effective. We take the psalm in question and we recite it out loud all the way through once without stopping. We call this an incantation. Then we go back through that psalm and we search for hidden or occult meanings behind each verse, and we do our best to apply those meanings to the situation at hand. These are like magic seeds that we're planting in the depths of our mind. And those seeds in that fertile ground take root. They grow, they blossom forth, and they bear fruit after their kind. And that's precisely what you and I are going to do together right now with Psalm 83. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may no more be in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gebal and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Assur has also joined with them, and they have holpen the children of Lot, Selah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, and as to Jabim at the brook of Kison, which perished at Endor. They become as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb, and like Zeb, yea, all their princes as Zebah, and as Zalmunna, who said, Let us take ourselves the house, who said, Let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession. O my God, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind. As the fire burneth a wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire, so persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name, O Lord. Let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yehovah, art the most high over all the earth. Okay. Starting out with keep not thou silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. So when we are approaching the infinite here, we are approaching it as the Elohim, which is the collective, the host of heavens, the divine family. And it says, keep not thy silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. So we are trying to get God excited about the fact that we are having such a problem with this person or with these people or with this situation that we need help from. Somebody we feel is attacking, and we need the infinite to wake up and notice us. Now, the idea that the infinite doesn't know what's happening is sometimes our problem, because that is the ego right there is trying to tell us that the infinite must not know that we're in trouble, so we've got to go tell the infinite that we're in trouble. But the idea that the infinite is not omniscient is egoic. It's an arrogance. So we have to just look at that for what it is and remind ourselves that what we're doing is we are taking the first step. We are making our case, because nothing in magic or, especially not in magic, happens without us taking the first step. You know, you've got to wave the wand. You've got to sprinkle the powder. You've got to say the incantation. You can't just say, well, how come magic didn't fix it for me? You've got to do it. And that's the case no matter what when you're dealing with the infinite, with infinite intelligence, is the infinite doesn't, it's like the prime directive in Star Trek. It doesn't just come in and fix things for you. You have to be the one that instigates it. And so we're doing it in a very poetic way. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. So no, we're in a very smart way, we are making it known that it's not us personally, separate and distinct from the infinite, who are being attacked. When they attack us, we are saying they're attacking the infinite. So the enemies of us are the enemies of the infinite. And that's a very smart thing to do, because we are putting ourselves in alignment closer to the truth, and that is that we are one with the infinite. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. Now, what we have to recognize here is that if we aren't having some seed of this in our own mind, we can't be vulnerable to it on the external. And until we are willing to be aware of that and know that and own that, we're always going to feel like we are being victimized. And there's no way that we're going to be able to protect ourselves. There's no way that we're going to be able to have that martial arts move where we step out of the way and flip that energy back on them. Because we are disconnected from our power source. But once we understand that our own ego mind is using this as a ploy to find more reasons to hate ourselves, to hate the world, to feel disconnected from our Creator, until we can realize that that's what's happening, we have a disconnection from our own power to rise up against it or to allow it to reverse on itself. So when it says they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones, it's important to understand that this is a dual meaning. It definitely means that we're talking about whatever's going on in the world, but we have to understand that it also means that our own ego mind has taken crafty counsel against ourselves. It's using this as a tool, and we're not going to fall for it. They have said, "Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may no more be in remembrance." That's the ego's whole game, is to cut you off from your soul. Now, first of all, it's important to understand that's not possible. You can't cut yourself off from your soul, but you can sure think you have. You can give yourself an experience of it. And we know people like that. Sometimes we've even been that ourselves. We know people that for all intents and purposes, they seem soulless. They think that they seem like all they are is ego. All they are is that ego mind that has no compassion, no sense of right and wrong, no sense of being connected to the infinite, all in it for themselves, completely reactive, selfish, brutal. Right? So we've all known people that we say, oh, they have no soul. Well, it's not that they have no soul, but they have allowed themselves to have an experience where it is as if they have no soul because they have suppressed it so much. And what we don't want to do is match that. We don't want to match that. We don't want to do that and say, see, I can do that too. And then it's two egos bumping up against each other. We want to claim our connection with our soul. We want to claim our connection to the nation of Israel, so to speak. The nation of Israel is our soul. That's what that represents in the Psalms. It doesn't represent either the ancient or the current country called Israel. It represents our soul, Isis, Ra, and El, the male, female, and divine. That's who we are. It's the divine androgyne. That is Adam Kadmon. It is the perfect being, and that's who you are. You're the perfect being. So when we allow the ego to try to cut ourselves off from our soul or from our nation, that is not only what we are saying is happening to us from outside, but we are acknowledging that there's an inner ego that's trying to do that for us as well, that's trying to do that to us as well. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. And that's exactly what the ego is. 100% against the infinite. And against the infinite but won't ever go up against the infinite because it can't. It can't even be in the presence of the infinite. It can't be in the presence of the divine because it is all illusion. And if you turn on the light in a dark room, that darkness, it has no hope. There's no hope for that darkness in the room. And the same thing goes with the ego. The ego in the presence of the infinite is shined away. It's just shown to be nothing. It's the lie that is no longer. And it says, when they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. No matter what story the ego has, no matter what the epic tale of this is that's playing out in your life, it is a lie. It's a complete and utter lie. It has absolutely no substance to it, any more than the darkness has substance when you flip on a light. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and then all of these 6 and 7 and 8, they are listing and listing and listing. Now, there are times when it's good to go through and look at what those names might mean. But for our purposes in this spell, we have to understand what this is doing is it's showing us this idea that the names of the ego are legion, that these are all nations that are conspiring against the infinite, conspiring against Israel, conspiring against the soul. And so it seems like in our experience, what's happening is people or this person or whatever's happening, wherever we've come to the soul, whatever reason we've come to the psalm, is out to get us. That is a reflection of what's happening on the inner planes with us. And that is that it seems as though all of our own inner nations are conspiring against ourselves. Okay, then we're going to skip over to, so all of these actually all the way through 11, it's through verse 11. There's all of those nations at war with Israel, conspiring against Israel, conspiring against the infinite. So this is a massive conspiracy that's happening within our own ego mind to try to cut us off from our soul, which is a losing proposition. Ultimately, it could never happen because that's not the infinite's will for us, to have our soul cut off from us. But we can have the experience of that because the infinite gave us free will. We can use our minds any way we want to. Now, we may not believe that we are doing that. We may not believe that that has anything to do with us. And I can hear people emailing me right away saying, but Ariel, you don't understand. These things really are happening to me. It's not just in my ego. It's not just in my own mind. It really is happening. And I don't doubt it. I'm not saying it's not happening in your real life, in your physical life. But until we understand that the physical can't happen in a vacuum, it must have its source in the invisible, then we have no power to correct it. But once we recognize that for everything that we're experiencing in our lives, even though it doesn't appear to have anything to do with us personally, when we realize that there is a corresponding astral equivalent within our own minds, then we have all the power. That's when we have our magical power. And that's what we have to do here today, so that we can say, verse number 12, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession. So these are all these warring, conspiring nations that are just going to come in and take over against our will. That's what these ego thoughts are doing internally, and it appears to be what's happening to you on the physical plane that's made you come to this psalm in order to reverse that negative energy or that hex or that curse or whatever's coming at you. Oh my God, make them like a wheel as the stubble before the wind. So when you make them, when we're asking the infinite to make all of these egoic thoughts and the manifestations of these egoic thoughts, which are what your enemies are that you're bringing to the psalm, like a wheel as the stubble before the wind, you can just see them rolling away and floating up into the air like nothing. All of this crazy, scary stuff that you just thought was so hard, that was so scary, that they were so powerful, and all of this was conspiring against you, and you had absolutely no hope, and you just see it rolling away and flittering off like a puff, like a nothing. It's nothing. As the fire burneth a wood, as the flame setteth the mountains on fire, so persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm, seeing them burning up in the bonfire. Just like kindling. They have absolutely no power. They're just nothing. They're nothing more than kindling. They're not even the main wood for the fire. You just put the kindling under the wood to get that fire going. That's all they are. They're nothing. These experiences, these ideas of conspiracy against ourselves, these ideas that somebody out there has power over us, these ideas that anybody could throw a hex at you and make it work. You, a child of the infinite. You, a child of the infinite. You're an extension of the infinite. The infinite that is the source of all that is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. There's no end to this power, this force, and you are an extension of that. And so when you're in your right mind, when you're in your power, and you are knowing who you are as an extension of that, then you understand what the psalm is telling you, that these things that you're so afraid of, that you're coming to the psalm for, are as nothing. They're just nothing. Fill thy faces with shame, that they may seek thy name, O Lord. When we ask for the shame to be given not only to our mortal enemies, but most importantly, those thought forms within our own mind, which are very egoic in nature, very arrogant, very violent, very cruel against ourselves. When we are asking for shame, it's like a scarlet letter that we're going to put on them. And the reason why we ask for shame for our own thought forms is not because we want to go around and be ashamed. What that means is that when we are tempted to go back into this again, we're going to see that scarlet letter. We're going to see that label of shame, and we're not going to go down that road again. We're going to remember what kinds of results we get when we allow ourselves to entertain any thoughts that are against us. And just think about what those warring nations are. Just take a second and just think about what those warring nations are internally. Just put aside any idea of what's going on out in the world. Just put aside the whole drama that you might have brought to the psalm. You can come back to it in a minute because it's definitely getting taken care of. But let's just look at the warring nations within you that are coming to try to separate you, from your soul. What kinds of things do you say to yourself? What are some of the so-called negative thoughts that you have about yourself? Those fearful thoughts, those hateful thoughts. How do those manifest for you? And just give a moment to yourself to recognize what you're dealing with here and what is going to be now lifted from you and cleared away from you. And those are the things that you want to have shame, meaning that when I'm tempted to allow that kind of thinking to happen again, I will notice it so that I can think again. So I won't have to go back into this, and I won't be vulnerable to these kinds of experiences in my life anymore. I won't be vulnerable. Have you noticed that there's some people that are more vulnerable to certain things than others? It's not that fate is fickle. It's that some people have more thought matter, substance that is oriented toward those kinds of experiences than others. And so now you're taking care of it at the source. So not only are you taking care of this experience that you brought to the psalm, but you're immunizing yourself from ever having to go through anything like it again. So good for you. You're doing wonderful work. Let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish. This is very important. Ultimately, they perish. And how do the thought forms perish? By being exposed to the light. Shadow exposed to light perishes by being shown to be what it is. Nothing. Nothing. Have you ever seen a shadow of your body on the sidewalk? And then if you shined light onto that shadow and it disappeared, that would be that shadow perishing. But it's not perishing in the idea of like a sentient being perishing. It's perishing because it's being proven to you that it's nothing but a shadow, but a blocking of light that gives the impression of the outline of your body. But it's not real. It's not real. I mean, it seems real in the moment. I mean, the shadow is real in that regard, but it's not. It has no substance of its own. You can't say that's a person there. Right? So when you shine that light on that shadow and it disappears, it reminds you it was never really anything to consider. It was just a blocking of the truth. And so all of these shadows that you're dealing with here, they are being exposed as being nothing as well. So they therefore have no longer any power over you or any power to concoct experiences in your life that are causing you to run to the psalm to get healed. That men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yehovah, are the Most High all over the earth. Okay, so the Most High Yehovah, this is very easy to start getting involved in religion if you're not careful. But we have to understand that the tetragrammaton here, the Yud He Vav He, represents the creative force of the universe. It's beyond all religion. It's beyond all system, beyond anything that we can comprehend with human intellect. And it is the primary force that gives life, intelligence, and experience in the universe. And it is pure and infinite love, pure and infinite truth, pure and infinite intelligence, pure and infinite spirit. It exists through you as your soul. It is the life principle itself. It's what is beating your heart right now. It is the law, meaning the law of cause and effect and all the other laws that come along with it, the laws that govern science and all of it. And it is omnipresent. It is available to you to experience right now because it's with you. It's not far away, up in the sky. It is with you. It is as you. It is that which creates you in the moment. So there's nothing higher than that because there is nothing else but that. So it's really important to understand we're not worshiping a deity up in the sky that is a father figure named Jehovah that is better than other gods. That's not a magical way of thinking about this at all. The magical way of understanding this is that you are an extension of the one primary force of the universe. And even to call it one is too limiting, because that would imply that there's something possibly else. There's only oneness. There's only unity. There is only this. And anything that's not this is an imagination, is an illusion that we are concocting. And that's the ego mind, and that's the world of separation that we're experiencing in our lives, that we are learning doesn't really exist. And that we are learning that once we reconnect our consciousness with the truth of who we are as an extension of this force, that only truth exists in our lives, and all of these other problems start to just be shined away, just like that shadow was that we were talking about. So whatever the experience is that you're going through that's causing you to need to reverse it, to need to reverse evil, not only are you getting that taken care of by working this psalm, absolutely that's getting taken care of, but you're getting rid of the causes of it within you as well, so that you're never going to have to do it again. So it's a very powerful thing to do. You just keep coming back to it every single day until you get a sense in your own heart that it's done. I feel a click. I feel a definite shift where all of a sudden I don't worry about it anymore. I'm not afraid. I'm not worried. I know that it's working out. I just get a sense. And that's a clear sign from the deep mind that the spell has been cast. And the best thing for you to do is forget about it and move on and let it do its work. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Until next time, blessed be. Okay, let's see. Oh, we don't have any questions. Okay, well, thank you so much for spending some time with me. And I hope to see you in about 14 minutes over on our premiere. Thank you so very much to the amazing moderators, Honeypaw, Deline, and Dre. And thank you all for joining me today. Until next time, blessed be.